This is Just in Case from American Newscape, joining our friend and mentor, Joyce Rockwood, sharing demystifying detoxification and avoiding common detox mistakes on your path to overall vitality. Greetings, Joyce. Welcome back to American Newscape.
Turn on the mic.
Turn on the mic, Joyce.
It's really great to be here. It's also great to be heard.
Well, exactly.
Hello, everyone.
How are you? Okay. Now that your mic's on and now that you're ready, really ready, Joyce, there's so much
Avoid
talk.
that mistake.
Yeah. Don't try this at home, kids. Okay.
Don't talk over the announcer.
There's so much talk and chatter about detox. Please share some tips on how to avoid common detoxification mistakes.
Absolutely. I think this is really important. I'm working with a few groups right now, supporting them through, one is through a 30-day cleanse, one was through a 7-day essential oils group study, and a lot of stuff comes up for people that they're not sure how to navigate. So I really wanted to make sure that people listening are not falling into this category. And if they are, then they have the ability to take some insights and take some inventory on what might be going on. So the first mistake I want to share is to start out sensibly, right? I work with a lot of different people from a lot of walks of life and all different age groups. Someone who just finished my 30-day detox intensive is 67. So no matter who you are or where you are on your journey, I can work with you. And, the interesting thing is that a lot of times people forget what they've done for their whole life when they start out on a new path. What are you eating now? What is one small shift that you can make to elevate your health? So the first mistake I would say that most people make is they're not always starting out sensibly. So start out sensibly, right? If you're not juicing yet, add a juice to your routine. And that's really going to start to change the pH of your biochemistry, which I know sounds really fancy, but this is really what happens when you start putting alkaline foods or substances in your body that are just a little bit different than maybe the coffee or the soda that you'd been drinking. Met a woman recently, literally in my own apartment complex, working through a life history of an addiction to soda. I mean, can you imagine being so addicted to a beverage that you go through 12 cans of soda in a day? This is really undermining to the kidneys and to overall blood work, to your blood sugar balance, your metabolism, weight issues. And so we really want to make sure that, the choices you start to make moving forward are sensible for where you've come from, right? Acknowledge what you were currently doing and then make a small tweak that's sensible for who you are given your history. Another simple tip would be like, okay, are you not really eating any raw vegetables? Because if you're not, and you just eat a few leaves of lettuce or a couple of raw carrots or something that's like a chopped up red pepper before you eat something that's cooked, that alone is going to be something that supports you in a detox, supports your body's ability to cleanse. And so just simple things like that. Start out sensibly, right? Don't try to do everything at once. That's my first tip. Second one would be...
Can I ask a quick question? Your neighbor,
Yeah.
I assume that soda addiction was to a diet soda?
I don't know if it was diet or regular.
Well, the only reason I throw that in
we're not
is
working together yet, so I'll get the skinny on that when we do.
for the audience, the only reason I throw that in, I've had basically every vice known to man, and tobacco, alcohol. We could just go on down the line, poor eating habits. But the hardest thing I ever had to give up was the aspartame that was in Diet Coke.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a horrific addiction.
Yeah. Well, these companies are not idiots.
No, I know.
They've got two of the most addictive substances on the planet, that are quote unquote food based in their drink. It's sugar and caffeine. I mean, so they're not clueless as to what's going on, right?
Right. So. All right. Sorry I digress,
right.
But let's get you back to
No, please digress. Continue to digress. Number two, I would say is, don't try to change everything at once. This causes very unmanageable detox responses, and then it makes you want to give up the ship, right? It's like abandon ship if this is not working. You really want to take this step by step. Do something that's sensible for you given where you're at. Like you mentioned, soda, right? Maybe it's not giving up soda, but if you're having like 2 or 3 sodas a day, maybe you say, I'm going to just try to have one less than what I'm currently having. I mean, anything you do that's a modification of the consumption you're currently consuming, the foods you're currently consuming, anything that's a modification of that is going to support you in detoxifying your body, because it's less of the inflammatory foods, it's less processed foods than what you were doing before, right? So it doesn't have to be perfect, right? And then look, what happens after a week of doing that or a few days of doing that? Chances are you're like, oh, actually, I'm pretty okay. I can do this. And maybe I'll reduce it down to 1 soda a day. And eventually you're drinking carbonated water. And then eventually you're not drinking carbonated, or you're drinking flat water with some lemon essential oil in it, right? It's like a progressive series of events. All right. So that would be the second one.
Okay.
Third one would be set realistic expectations. A lot of times people go into this, they're like, okay, I'm giving up everything. I'm never going to have a cheeseburger. I'm giving up the Doritos. I'm no longer having Haagen-Dazs. I'm like, take a break.
Yeah.
That's not sensible. I mean, what football player that's won 7 Super Bowls, said he's going to walk out on the field and win 7 Super Bowls in 7 years?
Right.
Well, maybe there's one. But I mean, look, maybe we could just set out to do one thing is my point, right? Don't change everything at once, because when you do that, there's an upheaval of poisonous matter into the bloodstream from a very deep cellular level that makes you feel like you want to take someone's head off. Someone's cutting you off on the highway and you're freaking out. Your mood swings are all over the place. Your skin's popping with all these eruptions and you're gassy and you're bloated and now you're constipated. The whole point of going on to some kind of a detoxification protocol is to have more eliminations, because the whole point of detoxifying is getting rid of poisons. There's no detox going on if the toilet bowl's not full. Okay. So that would be your second one, or your third one. Is to set realistic expectations. I worked with this woman recently who, for the last 25 years, was not getting good sleep. Can you imagine? Not getting good sleep for 25 years. So she's increased by an hour. She gets an hour more of sleep in the last 30 days that we've been working together. Now, for a lot of people, they're like, oh, that might not be a lot. But for her, it's huge, because she actually feels like not just the amount of time she's getting is increased, it's the quality of the sleep she gets. She feels like she's sleeping deeper. She wakes up really refreshed. She wakes up grateful to put her feet on the floor. And so, the whole process can look unique and different for each person. And let's face it, if you set out to get rid of, triple fudge sundaes by Friday and it's Monday, that's probably not going to happen. So, again, maybe we bring in some healthier options so that you're still eating, maybe a nut milk based ice cream or a coconut milk based ice cream or something similar that's cleaner, that's not creating all of the unwanted metabolic responses in your system. And just understand, we set realistic expectations because the detox process takes time. What's inside your body did not accumulate in a week. It took a lifetime for this stuff to turn into something unpleasant. For some people, it's, happens early on in their teens. They might get a red light going on in their body, a red light blinking that's saying something's not right. But sometimes I meet people like this woman, she had ulcerative colitis and it was only really a problem in the last few years. So, sometimes it takes a lifetime for something to build up into a head of steam where it now becomes this, major issue or a disease. So, we want to be honorable to the history and the time it's taken for this stuff to accumulate. Because when you start eating cleanly, it's going to begin a process of transforming your biochemistry, but it's going to take time for your body to catch up to all of the good eating. All right. So that's the third one, set realistic expectations. And then the fourth thing I would say is, don't stop when you feel an unwanted response. Because the truth is, if you're truly detoxifying your body, you should be looking for some things that feel unpleasant, right? Because that means that you've been triggering the release of poisonous matter into the bloodstream. Now, don't misinterpret that. I'm not saying like if you're flat out with a 103 temperature because you've got poisons running through your blood cells and your bowels aren't functioning. I'm not saying to tolerate it, but just because you get a cold, or you start feeling some cramps or some bubbles in your belly, or you have some diarrhea, like that's not a reason to stop. That's the reason we're doing this. It's because we want our body to be expunging all of the demons that have been locked inside. And now you've created a cleansing response internally that's allowing them to be set free. All right. Now, I know for some people listening, that might not be something they know how to navigate. So if you're feeling an unwanted response and you're going through this right now, then seek the help of someone who's skilled, who can really help you to understand what is happening so that, you know how to navigate those changes.
Let me jump in, Joyce, just real quick. When we're trying to change our habits and we're trying to deal with lifestyle changes, one thing that a lot of people don't take into account is that the mind has to buy in, but the subconscious does as well. And the subconscious can be a landmine for us, and because it can actually send false messages to the body. You could actually be imagining that you're not feeling well because of the self-conscious trigger. And what I draw that back to is, as a competitive power lifter back in the day, the body would actually the mind would send to the body that you have no use for this muscle, you have no use to carry this mass, and it would actually feint injuries to try and discourage me from going back to lifting weights. And once I got back to lifting weights, everything was fine. And that's the same thing here. I need to buy in with my mind. I need to take the baby steps so I can start to get the buy-in from my subconscious, and then it becomes a lot easier for us.
Yeah. And, if you do one thing, if you just change one thing to see some kind of change or shift, and it's going to inspire you to do something else. I think what happens with a lot of people, why they don't continue on the path, whether it's a, quote unquote diet or some kind of, cleansing program, I think what happens is they're not properly guided as to what can happen, what the expectations are to, to consider. And then they feel intimidated because they have an idea of what the expectations should look like. Those are not happening, and then they feel like they're not going to get to the end line. So, again, you really want to understand what's going inside your body when these changes are happening, and just stay persistent, because like I say, you should actually be seeing something happening that's letting you know that these things are erupting in the body, that they're getting loosened up and getting ready to be set free. So thank you for mentioning that, because our belief system plays a huge role in all of this. Do you believe that you can get it, or your body is capable of healing? And do you believe that you are someone who can overcome the obstacles with the right support to get there?
I agree. You don't have to feel alone.
Yeah,
And
that's like the biggest issue for a lot of people.
well, the right mentor and coach can make a lot of these transitions a lot smoother for us.
Yeah, speaking of which, number 5. Like they say on TV, don't try this at home.
Exactly.
Don't try this at home on your own. I mean, if you do okay and you're doing well, then great, more power to you. But, seek out someone who is expert in the process so you can get the best results, and have a step-by-step process to guide you effectively on your journey. And, don't forget to poop. Okay. Look at your poop. We want to make sure that if you're on some kind of a cleanse, if you're embarking on some kind of change, and you want to avoid all these common detox mistakes, then, make sure that your body is eliminating, because if you're not eliminating, there is no detox. So those are my top 5 mistakes to avoid.
Okay, Joyce, what are our next best steps? Contact
Yeah.
you.
I mean, go ahead.
No, contact you, come up with a plan, get after it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest things that I see when people come to me when I'm on a discovery call is, what's the biggest obstacle? Sometimes it falls into that category of, I don't know what to do, or I kind of know what to do, but I'm not totally sure, or I just keep procrastinating. I really just need someone to hold me accountable. Right. So if any of those things are resonating for you and you really love the idea of having a step-by-step process that's going to get you right on that path, get you the results that you want, feel empowered, feel like, oh my God, this is so much easier than I thought it was going to be. That's a really common response I hear. If you're ready to make some changes, reach out and I'll make every effort to fit you in. I've got a link below for you to book a 30-minute no-cost discovery call so we can get connected.
Well, get after your discoveries call, people. This has been Just In Case and Joyce Rockwood, Demystifying Detoxification Mistakes. Thanks for joining us. Remember, free gifts, additional information, and links are provided in this video's read more. And I want you to know that the bloopers in this video come at no extra charge. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel to stay connected, and please connect with Joyce in the links below so you can learn some healthy revelations and how not to go bananas.